Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the world's greatest podcast. I am your host, Ryan, aka Rydog, sitting down with my buddy Josh, aka Meditor, and we are going to talk about the Andor, Star Wars Andor season finale, the series as a whole, and where we think we see it going for season two. So, right off the bat, Josh, I already asked you how you were and everything. So I want to get right down to it, and I just got to say, very serious question about this series. Have we just witnessed the most romantic plotline in Star Wars since Han and Leia?
Are you talking about Cyril and Deidre?
I am talking about Seirdra. Yes, Seirdra.
Deidre or Dyril?
I totally am, dude. I am so here for this. I am so here for this relationship. I I was writing in my notes. I'm like, you just gotta see my notes. It's just it's so stupid. Like for me, Deirdre is like the best Empire character ever. I think.
Yeah.
She's just freaking awesome, and in my notes, I'm like, no, Deirdre, my favorite Empire character ever. No, they got her. No, no, no. Oh, shoot, there's Cyril. Oh my God, the love story of the century. The century.
Yeah. He thought he was there to catch Andor, but really he was there to catch her heart.
Wow, you gotta clip that. You gotta clip that and just like, oh, okay, I gotta clip that and then I'll put that in a
Yeah, it's your
short.
show.
Yeah, I will clip that and put that in a show. I gotta write that down too. Like, that is such an awesome quote. Oh man, what minute are we at? Like minute two. Okay.
You're off to a roaring start.
Oh my god, I'm already having so much fun in these first 2 minutes. Oh boy. Yeah. But I mean, okay. I forgot. How much of a Harry Potter fan are you?
I read the first four books.
But you never read the last one, or did you see the last movie?
No, I don't know what happens.
Oh man. Okay, so for anybody, if you're listening and you're a Harry Potter fan, I'm getting very heavy Snape vibes about this relationship, which is like super tragic, and I don't want it to go that way. I want it to be like, she chooses him over the Empire in the end, but I feel like that's not going to happen.
No, he what? So compare Cyril and Deidre to Cinta and Vel, right?
Okay.
Except Cyril and Deidre are both Cinta in this relationship. They both would choose the Empire over each other. So I don't see them. No, I don't see a good ending here. You know what? Speaking of things I haven't seen, but I'll still make this comparison. Are you familiar with the show You?
I am aware of it and its premise, but I have not seen any of it.
So I haven't seen it, but my wife she binged it while I was like in the room. So what I understand is what the guy is a serial killer, and then uh this girl finds out that he's a serial killer, but it turns out she's also a serial killer. So then like they turns out they're perfect for each other, so they're dating and going around serial killing people. That's what Cyril and
That is
Deidre are
not
to
how
me.
my cousin explained it to me. That
Am I thinking
sounds.
of a different show?
No, it's the same show, but at the time, I think she had only seen like half of the first season or something.
Here, wait, my wife wife. Did I explain that show correctly? Yeah. She says yes. I
She
explained it
says
correctly.
yes. Okay. We got Mrs. Meditor confirming that is the premise in the
That is
synopsis.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. So okay, wait. But how does that relate to Seirdra? Like they're
They're
just
both
perfect for each
evil.
other because they're both
Yeah.
evil and they love the Empire more than anything else.
Right. So you want this to be Beauty and the Beast, right? But it's not. It's Beast and the Beast.
Okay. I thank you for putting in that in really layman's terms that I can understand. That was a really good
Well,
analogy. That was a really good
it's
analogy.
Disney.
A Disney-fied version of Beast and Beast. Yeah, we can't.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can't get too crazy. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. got sent to shank a man for so here's what I'll say about Andor. I'll make us. I'll this today is all about analogy. So here's the analogy I'll make. I'll bring it into sports. So in sports, what I look for to determine if someone's like a really good competitive athlete is if everyone knows what they're going to do, everyone in the arena, their opponent knows what they're going to do, and they can't stop it anyway, right? So I know you like tennis, so like certain players, they're power servers. You know they're going to just smack the ball as hard as they can,
Hmm.
and you can't stop it anyway.
Hmm.
Or other players are more finesse. You know they're going to work the angles and drop shots, whatever. You can't deal with it anyway. To me, the show is amazing because there's no plot twist, right? You know everything that's going to happen. Essentially, I would say even uh, uh, at least in the third act, you know exactly what's going to happen. There's no surprises there, but it's still like amazing and riveting. You can't look away. So to me, this is one of the greatest shows of all time.
Yeah, and what makes it really good is that it, even though you know what's gonna happen, they build that tension so well, you know,
Yeah,
and it's just like you're on the edge of your seat, and you're just like that whole the bell thing and the procession and everything. It's building that tension up to that speech. Um, One of the
right.
greatest monologues in Star Wars. Yeah, so like that is a very good point, and that is I think that is like the genius of this show, and
Yeah,
it kind of
it's
lead.
the anti J.J. Abrams, right? Where J.J. relies on you not knowing what's coming next. Where this one is like, no, here it is.
You
Deal
mean
with it.
like he doesn't even know what's coming next? Is
Yeah, yeah. No one can predict it if he doesn't even know.
yeah, yeah. Mr. Mystery Box is what I've heard people say.
Yep.
The king of the mystery box. Yeah. Um. So I want to get into a little bit of the nitty gritty here. I have a couple questions. I don't even know if you have an answer for this, but like we talked a little bit about Mon Mothma in the previous episodes.
Yeah.
Um, I was just watching, like, she didn't have like a huge part in this the finale, but she did have a little bit, and so mostly it was like she was having a spat with her husband, um, or she was complaining that he was gambling again or something. So then they already mentioned before they have a arranged marriage, and now I'm not knocking arranged marriage. I know it works for certain cultures and certain people in the world. Don't take this the wrong way, but for theirs, at least, it doesn't seem like it's working out for them very well, right? So my question was, is this pretty normal for like the aristocracy in Star Wars? We don't really get to see a lot of like her class of people in Star Wars.
That's a great point. So I would say, um, for context, uh, there is aristocracy in like the novels, especially. For example, um, and they've retconned this, but originally, Leia, uh, there was this whole story where the New Republic needed to like make an alliance with this, I think it's called the Hapen Consortium, and part of this relies on her marrying like the prince of the Hapens or whatever, and so this of course triggers uh, a maid of honor situation where Han has to go and stop the wedding because really he's always been in love with her, and then they get married. So
Oh,
so
you
you
when you
can
said Maid of Honor, you meant the movie Maid of Honor.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
wow. Okay, deep references
Deep
there. Okay,
cuts.
deep cuts. Okay, go on.
Again, I'm trying to nail things, but so and then you have like Prince Zizor. He's like the prince of the underworld. He's rich and so on. So I think but then also uh, Coruscant is just it's so hard to get Coruscant on film, right? Because it's so expensive. You have to do a CGI background every time. Uh, so for that reason, we haven't really gotten you're right, much of that aristocracy. on screen. Maybe the closest is like the prequels, is like scenes where Padme is trying to like convince people to do things, and a lot of that got cut. There's a lot of deleted scenes that are, involving Mon Mothma and Bale and people like them. So,
Funny you say that because I just like watched a bunch of them on YouTube this week. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and by the way, pretty nice glow up for Mon Mothma between episode 3 and Andor. But so it's definitely been something that's not been on the screen as much. The focus is on Luke, who's like a farmer boy. Leia is royalty, but her planet got blown up, so you never got to see that. You just kind of you,
Yeah.
it it's essentially just so that Han, to contrast her against Han, who's also a scoundrel. So it's like, oh, here's another Beauty and Beast situation. Haha, look, Han is so poor and uneducated. Haha, how could he marry a princess? And then he does. Um, but the reality is like, yeah, this stuff, I would say they also get into it in the Clone Wars. Similar thing where Padme has to like go get allies who are rich, and there's this guy named Clovis, and there's this whole thing. Anakin ends up punching him out. It's very dramatic.
Okay, so like, but like, so we don't get to see a lot of it on screen. But they arranged marriages do seem to be a thing, right? Which like
Yeah,
would reflects the real world aristocracy, at least in the old days, right?
kind of. I would say. I think this is more though. This is about Chandrilan culture, which we had never really,
Oh, her
as far as
planet
I know.
specifically.
Yeah. This is the Chandrilan thing, and it's also okay. So there's a lot to unpack here. Um, and if you were on Twitter, one of the things that Star Wars Twitter is like creating drama over. Someone put a post. Um, Let me see if I can search it up. So you are you familiar? I mean, you know what cultural appropriation is, right?
Yes.
Okay, someone put an image, and you know the scene where Mon Mothma and her husband and her daughter, they're going to meet the other family, and this is going to be like the introduction to this, potential future arranged marriage.
Yep. Yep.
So they posted this screenshot, and they're like essentially saying that they're wearing kimonos, and uh,
Oh my
th-
god! Don't finish
they're
that sentence, Josh.
they're wearing kimonos. As far as I can tell, I'm trying to be charitable here. The problem they have with it is that they're wearing kimonos, but the actors aren't Asian, right?
Oh boy.
Sorry, I couldn't say it without laughing at it.
Oh
Because
boy.
culture appropriation is a real thing and it's bad. But, of course, all of Star Wars Twitter is in uproar over the very idea that someone would do this, and it's like, I if you're going to be upset at Andor for having white actors wearing kimonos, like you probably should never watch any Star Wars because it's nothing but East Asian references.
I mean, if they're on Star Wars Twitter and they're complaining about that, then they should have been complaining about Episode One, Padme wearing the Mongolian princess dress. Uh,
Like
yeah.
any number of
Anything.
things.
Yeah. Anything. Yeah.
It's like the fact that it's a ripoff of Hidden Fortress, the fact that Jedi are samurais, they also wear like robes. It's just so like where have you been? Like you know what I mean? Uh Shoot, I'm not gonna find it right now. Um but yeah, but I will say it does what that they're trying to do is give more depth to the Chandrilan culture so that you understand that Mon Mothma uh, Mon Mothma doesn't like those old customs in the same way they're juxtaposed. Like the customs are just as much part of the empire, maybe not just as much part of the empire, but it's a similar type of thing. It's control. The customs are they're all about control, they're about conformity, and the empire in the same way. They want everyone to be the same. They don't want anyone, they're in your money, that they're oppressing people, so on and so forth. And so part of the tension is that you have Perrin. Perrin kind of stands in for the aristocracy, who is they're just on for the ride. As long as they're making money, as long as they're living a cushy lifestyle, they really don't care about what the Empire is doing on Ferrix or Aldani or any of these other backwater planets. And then the daughter, so you would think it's a nice reversal. You would think that the younger generation would be more rebellious and more like going against the grain. But in fact, the daughter is all about like the tradition, the culture, and is totally down for like embracing what she sees as Chandrilan heritage. So Mon Mothma is stuck in a spot where she can't even voice her disapproval because she's playing a role, right? But she's kind of seeing her family kind of implode in front of her, and there's nothing she could do about it.
Yeah, and I get the feeling that she's the kind of person that we would be willing to do and play the part for whatever it takes, and willing to take the hits on herself, as
Yeah,
long as like her family is safe. But this is now it's starting to affect like her daughter and her daughter's future, right? And like you
right.
said, her daughter's like been kind of indoctrinated, I guess. uh, so it's
Well, even it's even so again you have to look at what's going on in the real world, which I know some people don't want to do,
yeah.
but um in the most recent election it was I think college age people like they voted overwhelmingly Democrat, right? But there's still people who are teenagers and young adults who are like, no, conservatism. Let's go. I'm all about that Republican Party. Let's do it. And so I think Mon Mothma's daughter is like fitting into that category, and um, so that's like something that's happening in real life. Um, what else did I want to say about that? What was your question?
Well, I was just making the comment that this is more like now it's affecting her daughter. It's not just affecting her.
Oh,
You
right,
know?
right.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say was this is the Walter White sort of character arc where it's like she's trying to keep things on the side and keep things separate so it doesn't affect her family. And then slowly over time, she's like compromising until she's selling out her daughter to the criminal, and she's gonna pin the money problems on her husband. She's gonna blame all the gambling on him.
Yeah. So she, but she's not gonna end up like going full Walter White. But I see where you're
Well,
going with that. She has to make compromises, and eventually she's gonna have to give like come out in the open and give up the role of senator and like fully join the alliance. Right? Is that what you're saying?
well, the Senate gets dissolved in A New Hope, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Mon Mothma was already on Yavin 4 um, in Rogue One. So it seems like she's going to make her break at, sooner rather than later. And I hate to break it to you, but I'm pretty sure her husband and child were not on Yavin 4 while Rogue One and A New Hope took place.
Yeah. I know. I'm pretty sure like her husband is dead in the water. Like he's either not gonna make it or he's gonna be in prison or something. But I just hope the best for her daughter. We don't know. She doesn't necessarily have to be gone. She just could be separated or something. You know.
I mean, if they will know that, look, man, the Empire is not one to be like, you know what, this was really all Mon Mothma. You take none of the blame. I don't think, I don't think that's gonna go. That's how it's gonna go down.
I'm still optimistic, man. Okay. Okay. Don't kill the kid. Come on. This is Disney Plus. You can't kill the kid.
I mean, you have. Let's talk about Ferrix. You have some incredible iconography here, where you have a teenage boy making a dirty bomb and throwing it at riot police, which is clearly like it's the same thing that's happening in the Middle East. I guess less so because United States is less boots on the ground, but it's the same kind of thing. And the fact that they went there, I wouldn't put anything past Tony Gilroy, at least the writer here.
Yeah. Now that you bring that up, when I was watching this, I'm like, this is hitting a little too close to home. This is a little bit like watching the news. Really.
Right, right.
Yeah. whether it be the main conflict that people talk about today, or like the last 5 years, or 10 or 15 years, it just hits like a little too close to home. Yeah.
But
Um,
that's what makes it so good because it feels real, even though it's a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
yeah, yeah. It's very grown up. Yeah. For especially for Disney Plus. Like,
No, it definitely stands out. Like it's just like where did this come from? Nobody saw this coming, right? And from what I understand, uh, Disney essentially like paid no attention to it. I don't know if that was intentional or they just didn't have time to interfere, but I wonder. It seems like it seems like the opposite of what has happened to other Star Wars material, right? Like we know there were heavy reshoots on Solo. We know actually there were heavy reshoots on Rogue One. I don't know if you knew that. Um, and then obviously the whole sequel trilogy, just like the musical chairs of the directors.
yeah,
Uh, it just seems like we had the polar opposite where they're like, you know what, here's Andor, you do whatever you want.
yeah. I mean, that's to me falls on like a person's shoulders. Like for the MCU, you've got the Kevin Feige, and so like he is the be all end all, the one above all, right?
Right.
And in Star Wars, I'm not really sure who that is. I think nominally it's Kathleen Kennedy, but from what I've read, she seems to be kind of hands off. You know?
No, well, she's the executive, but she's not a story person. The person who's really in charge of uh there's two. Um person who's really in charge of like the direction of the universe is Dave Filoni and
Now,
Jon
now,
Favreau.
now,
Right.
it's yeah.
Now it is,
Okay,
yes.
yeah,
Before you're right. Before it was I think it's unclear who was making the final call and it was probably more from a business decision than a story decision, is my impression.
yes, yes.
Yes, indubitably.
Indubitably. Okay, why were we going this way?
The point is like it seemed like so improbable at the start of 2022 that something like Andor could ever get made because of its uh adult content and just like thrown up on Disney Plus.
Yeah, okay, so that reminds me. I was gonna say you brought up the point that like they kind of like slipped in under the radar, right? You said like maybe they weren't paying attention to this that
Kind of
much.
how it kind of how it feels.
Yeah, yeah, like nobody was. There wasn't too much meddling with the production or like reshoots or over editing or something. Um, I kind of want to go on a little bit of a tangent, which talk about just like Disney Plus in general. Just have you noticed recently how many things are dropping on Disney Plus right now?
Kind of.
They just have like
Like
so much content coming right now, and I know that you and I focus mostly on like MCU and Star Wars when it comes to Disney. Um, but they have just like a bunch of like the older IPs that were successful in the past, but they're just reviving a lot of them, like the Santa Claus franchise, the National Treasure
yeah.
franchise, the Disenchanted, like the Enchanted sequel that I don't know. This sequel has been in like development for literally since the first one came out, and I think it was 2008 for 14 years, and then all of a sudden it just comes out um, like super quickly. And I don't know if it's good or not. I intend on watching it soon, but I don't know. So like my point is like it seems like maybe they're just like focusing on just growing the content of the service, like just like more, 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 more. You know, just give me more, give me more, give me more. You know, um,
Interesting.
so that maybe they're like, okay, just get more. Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, yeah, that's a definite money maker. Just get it out, get it out. You know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would that to me, if that's true, that seems like they're intending to like try to grab market share from Netflix and these other services. To me, my first thought when I heard they're launching their own service, it's like, well, that's a no-brainer because they'll always like they have these IPs that people will always need to watch. Like parents, they need to get their kids their whatever, their Cinderellas and their Bambis and whatnot. But what you're saying is that it seems like uh, the plan is to have content for all ages that makes people want to subscribe or stay subscribed, even if they don't have kids or not like crazy Disney people.
Yeah, possibly. I just feel like it's less focused right now, and this might be intentional. And by the way, this is total speculation. I don't know. I don't have any ins. I'm not a Disney executive, but for just like from what I've seen on like their content choices and how it rolled out. So it rolled out in like what 2020 was it? And the big focus was on WandaVision. That was kind of like the flagship show to kick things off, which was probably could probably say a pretty good success, right? Right, as a show.
Um, I don't know. So one of the problems is these companies never release their subscriber counts, or they'll say like, oh, this is the most watched show, and it's like, what does that mean? What
Yeah,
do
yeah,
these numbers mean?
yeah,
So I think it's always hard to say what's a success and what's not a success, which is also why we see things in a cancel at Netflix maybe unexpectedly because we don't have it's not like HBO or um, we just don't have the rating systems in place that we do for other types of media.
yeah. So okay, but my point, I totally agree there. My point is that they were making very focused efforts in their marketing in the beginning, like come watch WandaVision, come get Disney Plus, come watch WandaVision.
Oh, I see.
And then
Yeah.
the next one was like right after it was Falcon and Winter Soldier. Come watch Falcon and Winter Soldier. Um,
Yeah.
come watch that. And then it was I think right at about that time too, they got the rights to all of the main Star Wars movies back, and you started
Yeah.
seeing. I saw some advertisements for that too. Like come see the old Star Wars movies. Come see the prequels. Come see the new Star Wars movies. Like, uh, so, but now it just seems like they're at a point. Maybe they're in their maturing phase or sophomore phase where they're okay. We've like gotten like this first wave of the the first early movers. Now we need to like grow the content to keep the early movers and maybe just like expand our demographics for our viewership. So I see, like the Santa Claus, very kid friendly, right? Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, super kid friendly. The I Am Groot show, the Cars show, the all this stuff. And I mean, all of this makes sense with their brand. They're Disney after all, right? It's just that they just seem to be like it's just like a deluge of content now. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I think a lot of these things you're describing previously they would have released on Disney XD, and now they're going to their streaming service. So to your point, they're trying to drive people to get on this and stay on this.
Yeah, get away,
Um,
cut the cord, get away from those nasty cable
well,
companies.
I mean, look, Netflix is like super expensive now, and they're gonna like try to charge you if you're using it at multiple households and all this craziness. So I do think the competition is heating up.
Yeah, and I actually kind of called this I like pre-pandemic, and I actually don't remember this conversation, but I was talking to my dad recently, and he was like, you kind of called this. He's like, do you remember when we talked about streaming, and you were telling me that Disney Plus was about to come out? Amazon was like increasing their production, the number of productions they had. Um, HBO Max was about to come out, and especially when HBO Max said that they were going to have all of their release big major movie releases in 2021 would be on HBO Max. Um, so it was kind of coming for a while. So, and I feel like Netflix is kind of being very reactionary towards this. You know, so it's like they've lost a lot of their big shows that were driving people to come to them. Um, they have such a huge increase in competition now. I can't even like name all of the services, but there's like four or five big budget services competing with them now, whereas before it was probably like one, maybe. Um,
There was Hulu and uh that was it. It was you had Netflix and you had Hulu and
yeah,
HBO, you could say.
HBO, you could say, yeah, yeah. I guess HBO had their HBO Go before HBO Max. Yeah,
Well, even more so the concept, you've always had to pay for the channel. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. True. So Netflix definitely is like playing catch up and is definitely being very reactionary here. I will I To be fair though, they did start investing in like their own original productions quite early on. I just don't think it's enough, and I don't really know what they can do from here.
Talking about Netflix.
I'm talking about Netflix, yeah, but because like the way Disney is, like Disney has like such loyal brand, like a loyal following of their brands. You know, Star Wars, MCU, the Pixar movies. You know, like heck, people don't even know what the next Pixar movie is, but you hear it comes out, it's like, oh, a Pixar movie. You know, it's like
Yeah.
so.
Well, didn't something from Disney just bomb though?
Yes, I just saw the headline today, but I can't even remember the name of it because it's so
That's how bad
forgettable.
it
That's
was.
how bad it was because it's so forgettable. But they can afford
So
it too.
that's true. I think also they also print money with their amusement parks, which is not something that Netflix. I don't think you're never going to see a Netflix world.
True. Yeah. Although, what do you think if they could do that in Netflix world? What would it be? What would you put on there?
Well,
Like a Stranger
you
Things section?
you so before that, um, this is probably already the case, but they really need to uh, monetize their other licensing efforts. So there needs to be Stranger Things lunchboxes, and there are, but you know, I mean, let me Google their top IPs, but there needs to be the Funko Pops and the comic books. So those they don't really make money, but you know what I mean. There has to be like a more expansion of the media, and then you build up into this experience. Right now, Disney has Galaxy's Edge. It's this incredibly overpriced hotel that people are willing to go in and be treated like prisoners only because it's Star Wars. Netflix is not there yet. Perhaps when the people who grew up on Stranger Things, when they get old and they have money, nobody really has money now, then they you might see that.
Yeah, they can't afford to wait that long though. They might not even be around by then.
That's wild to think about.
I don't think they'll be gone, but I could see them being purchased and being a subsidiary of something. You know,
I think Amazon will buy them.
yeah, Amazon or Apple or something. One of them. Probably not Disney, but one of the other ones.
Let's see.
Well, I will say one really good thing about Netflix that a lot of people don't utilize is the foreign content. Is nobody can compete with them on foreign content. Amazon Prime has a lot too, but I still think Netflix has like the most and the best.
But even that is not what it used to be. Like I used to be able to sit down and just watch like endless kung fu movies, and that's not the way it is anymore. You know what I mean?
It's not. You can't just.
No, it's they'll have something, but like what is it that like I'm gonna say a name that I'm probably making it up, but like the 13 Chambers or um
That sounds like a kung fu movie. Go ahead.
so yeah the whatever it is, whatever I'm actually thinking of, uh uh it's not the way it used to be. I think I told you uh they had the Bond movies. They had the Daniel Craig Bond movies. And they had the first one, they had the second one, and they didn't have the third one. I couldn't continue in preparation for
Yeah, I
and
remember us talking about that. Yeah, yeah.
there's like constantly these weird things in Netflix selections where before it was like no matter what it was, you could either stream or get the DVD from Netflix. Like they literally had everything. Now everything's spread out and I don't I I just think that's not gonna that's they're not gonna pull things back, right? You can try to play the intellectual property game, but like you said, you have basically you're behind 100 years compared to Disney. They've had Mickey Mouse since the Great Depression. You're not gonna like the what are it's like some other strong IPs like Avatar, right? Avatar just came out. It's not going to be this generation. Also, nobody cares about Avatar. It's like this incredible technological achievement, makes a ton of movies at money at the theaters, and nobody cares about Avatar. Nobody talks about it. Nobody wears an Avatar shirt. So I don't see a way forward where Netflix like really develops these things that people are going to continue to spend money on besides the streaming, the monthly subscription fee.
Yeah, you make some really good points there, and I wanted to reiterate what you were saying. So like, they were only the powerhouse they were just because they were like the first big streaming
Yeah,
platform, and they did the first big one to do it well, right? And they got whatever it was, they marketed it well, and it caught on, right? And so it became the streaming service for however many years it was. And now, yeah, you're right. They don't have any of the. Now everybody else is catching up. All of the people who own the IP are catching up, and they don't. Luckily, they didn't like Obviously, they would never do this, but like they didn't like give it to the Netflix in perpetuity, right? So whenever those
right.
agreements expired, the contracts expired, then they're like, okay, we're gonna bring it back because we have our own streaming service now. Um, so what are they gonna do though? Like you said, it's like 100 years. They can't make like even if you made like one of the most popular shows in the world, it still would still take you a while to pump out a few seasons, right? And
Right, right.
and while we're sitting here talking, like I've tried been trying to think of like what is like a Netflix IP that is like really popular, and the only thing that comes to my mind is Stranger Things. like, um,
Well, yeah, right. So the the maybe what I would say the best things that are on Netflix maybe in the past few years were not uh Netflix may own it right now, but they were not developed by Netflix. So I think that the hottest thing on Netflix right now was Wednesday. Everywhere like I can't everyone's talking about Wednesday. Like congratulations, Wednesday. That's not original. It's not like you that's not it doesn't really belong to Netflix. Arcane. People love Arcane. Guess what? That's League of Legends. You didn't come up with that. Cyberpunk. Uh, what's another one? Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth is it comes from a comic book. They didn't make it up. Uh, Queen's Gambit comes from a novel. Cobra Kai. That's a sequel. Uh, Squid Game. Not even American, right? And I think Squid Game is a good example, right? Great show. Everyone loves Squid Game. I don't see any Squid Game merchandise. I don't see the monetization. It's just like, oh yeah, Squid Game, and then you go back to your life. Whereas people are they're like getting Star Wars tattoos. They're getting like they're naming their kids after Marvel characters. Um, and so a lot of Netflix success also earlier, I'll say in the past 10 years, was Daredevil, which is, well, I guess they're bringing it back, which I think, goes to show how strong it was. But they don't have Daredevil anymore. Um, they don't have Star Wars anymore. They don't have what's some other stuff that used to be on Netflix. Like I'm not gonna sit here and name movies, but uh, it's
like
just
yeah, yeah, Star
it.
Trek, yeah, Friends, The Office, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they lost The Office. Probably in terms of like generational TV shows that transcend generations, it's probably Seinfeld, right? That what I'm watching, and of course we know that prints money for mostly Jerry Seinfeld. Um, but look, like Umbrella Academy, it's a comic. Sandman, it's a comic. Um, wh- what else is there? Like you said, there's there's Stranger Things. Stranger Things is gonna end.
Yeah.
I suppose they'll have some spin-offs. The Witcher. The Witcher apparently got so bad that Henry Cavill quit. Like, what's going on here? So I think it's a combination of people bringing their IPs back, but to me, Netflix's strategy sort of seems like let's just find something that we can get a couple of seasons out, and then let's find the next thing. They're not trying to make a show that goes 10 seasons for whatever reason. I think there's good reasons why you don't want to try to make a 10 season show in 2023. But the fact that they just canceled things so quickly, the fact that when they do get A-list actors, it's always a movie. It's never a show, right? So it's like, oh, we got Ryan Reynolds, we got The Rock, we got Gal Gadot. That's a movie. It easily could have been a show, right? There's no reason why they couldn't have been a heist of the week show, and they made it a movie, and that's probably it. Um, they come out with these animes, and then, oh, what a great anime. Okay, come back 2 years later. We have to start animating the next one. It's like, like, what? How am I supposed to actually care about any of this stuff if you're not gonna let it ride and see what it's all about? They also they they drop everything. They drop when it is a show. They drop everything all at once so that you can binge it, right? Compare that to Disney, who gives you an episode a week, and you tell me, Ryan, which strategy is more likely to build long-term retention in the public consciousness? Is it the episode a week, or is it, oh, I binge it in a weekend? Okay, what's like what can I get next weekend?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you say that because when I'm thinking about like how we're gonna review stuff and discuss stuff on here, I'm like, man, it's really hard to do it for Netflix content because they just drop everything in 1 week, and it's like, well, how are we gonna review that if we want to talk about it? Like, we're not gonna watch all 10 episodes in a week. I mean, I guess we could, but like, so it's like, but like if we talk about it week after week for each weekly episode, like with Andor for example, it's like you said, it's in our consciousness for quite a long time, and if it's on our consciousness, it's on social media for all that time too, you know. So
Right.
yeah, people, the longer people talk about it, it makes a bigger impression on their mind, whereas like, yeah, the binging model, especially if you like us, where you might just binge it all in a few days, that you just kind of like, you talk about it, you binge it, you talk about it, and then you kind of forget about it in like 3 weeks, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, like I binged Blockbuster, and I'm like, oh, Blockbuster, this is great. No, I have not met a single person who has seen Blockbuster.
I saw the first 5 minutes of the first episode.
But it's just nobody's writing articles about Blockbuster, even though I think they should. Nobody's like it's just this uh Netflix also, I'm looking through their offering. They do a lot of comedy specials. Comedy specials, by definition, you watch once and then you move on. You're
Exactly.
only as good as your last comedy special. like,
And
like
yeah. Um, Another point that you made me think of just now is that what is their who is their target audience? What is their content? Like what is special about their content? And I can't name it, you know? Like Disney is like, usually it's geared towards like family content, right?
yeah,
Like
usually.
you could park your 6 year old in front of it, and usually not, you don't have to worry about what they're watching because you know it's 6 year old friendly. I know they have a little bit older stuff, but they're not going to see like boobs or blood and gore, right?
For the most
HBO,
part, yeah.
yeah, and the HBO is more geared towards like adult content, adult themes. It doesn't necessarily mean like sex and blood and gore all the time, but usually adult oriented themes and stories, right? Um,
Right. A lot
uh,
of serial killer shows.
Yeah, a lot of serial killers. Whereas like for Netflix and also to some extent, I think Apple TV, I don't really know what they're going for. You know, they're just kind of like trying to throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks. You know, and
But even when it does stick, they're like, okay, as long as it keeps sticking, we're
yeah,
gonna keep going with it. And then when it starts to show even the barest signs of sliding off the wall, get it out of here. We're done. Get
exactly,
us next.
exactly. And I could kind of excuse Apple TV because they're still fairly new, you know, and they're just figuring things out. But Netflix, you've been here for like a long time, man. Like, and you're
Right. You
still
should.
just like, yeah, you're still just throwing stuff at the wall. And like you said, they don't renew things that are really popular, so people leave. I don't understand a lot of what's going on behind the scenes there.
And also Apple TV, they're they're not they're not the studio. Well, Netflix is not really a studio either, right? But th- Apple TV is. I can understand that they have not only it's not just that they're new, but they probably have less data on what people are going to like before it actually gets made, and they're probably also less involved in the process of making the movie to make sure that it all goes well. But Netflix, you could Netflix, listen, for everyone who's listening to this who works at Netflix, you can make any movie you want. If you want a movie about tribbles, you can go ahead and have that made. You can do anything you want. So it's bizarre to me that yeah, and they do. And you look at some of the stuff, it's like, how did this get made? I guess someone at Netflix likes it, and then they turn around. It's like, actually, just kidding, cancel it. Like I'm pretty sure if you just take a couple, do a little more soul searching, do figure out your process a little bit, you wouldn't have to cancel shows because like nobody, like yes, there are some films that bomb at the box office, right? They kind of they don't perform as well as expected. That always happens. But um, the difference is that you have so much more control when you're the streaming service. You don't have to hit these theater deadlines. If it's not working, you send it back. And I don't know if that's something that happens. We don't I feel like we don't hear much of anything about Netflix movies, right? They just come out. It's just like here it is.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah,
there's no like, oh, like we had marketing for a year. I guess nobody does that anymore. And the other piece of that is exactly what I just said, the marketing. If you know a movie's a blockbuster, you're gonna market it like a blockbuster. If you know something is really like meant to be like to try to win some obscure filmmaking awards, then maybe you're not gonna, go on Letterman or whatever to market it. Netflix doesn't do any marketing. It's just like, here's a movie. Do you like it? They're asking us if we like it, as opposed to every other media company who decides what we should like.
yeah. That is a really wow. That is a really good way to put it, dude. I can't say anything better than that.
So, if Netflix dies, you know what? It's ironic they made a series about Blockbuster. That's
It is very ironic, yes.
but they say art imitates life.
In 15 years, somebody's gonna make a series about like the last days in the Netflix HQ or something.
Right, and there's just like one guy in the basement that's still mailing out DVDs.
Yeah.
Another guy that's working on the recommendation
He
algorithm.
looks like the guy in Office Space that's in the basement that got put in the
Yeah,
basement. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh man. Okay. Well, dude, that was like a really, really, really long tangent, but I really enjoyed that conversation. Um,
Yeah.
let's try to bring it back around to Andor because this is supposed
Yeah.
to be about Andor, but we ended up talking about Disney Plus and Netflix and everything. Um, I want to talk about really quick where you think what's going to go on with Bix and Bix later, moving forward, because she's had a pretty rough go of it. She's had a pretty rough time. Um, in these last few episodes, she got the Deirdre machine interrogation thingy majiggy.
The audio.
The audio, is that what it's called?
Yeah, their interrogation method is to play the songs of alien children dying in a fire.
Why is it a song?
I don't know if it's a song, but I guess
Or that's a phrase, like it's a song. Okay, like the
just their screams,
yeah, their screams. Okay,
which by the way is extremely metal.
man. Yeah, yeah. What do you think is gonna happen with her then? Obviously, she's gonna like be carrying this trauma with her.
Right, exactly. So if this were Ryan Johnson, I would expect her to, by the time season 2 rolls around, to be better and to be like leading and to telling everyone that the way that they'll win is by saving what they love. But this is Tony Gilroy, so I am somewhat expecting Bix to just like be traumatized and be unable to do anything for an entire season, um, in season 2. So who knows? We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. You brought the Ryan Johnson. Like, I'm just gonna totally ignore everything that happened in season one and just go a different, totally different direction in season two.
Yeah. Well, it's two things. It's one, like it doesn't make any sense as a character arc for her to just be better, right? And um it doesn't it doesn't like my wife has this thing. I'll tell you my wife's pet peeve. We always talk about our pet peeve, so I'll share hers. She cannot stand when people kiss in the middle of an action sequence. You know what I'm talking about? Like
Yeah, yeah. That is pretty. It is pretty ridiculous. Yeah.
it's like every time it happens, she just like gets up and walks out of the room. It's like really tough.
That bad.
So like, and just this like goes all the way back to like A New Hope, where Leia kisses Luke on the cheek before they're about to swing across the chasm. She's like, "Oh, for good luck." It's like if we just stop for a second, it's like you just met this dude. Um, you're really just distracting him. Like he doesn't need that in his life right now. Like just focus,
Yeah.
just hang on and be a princess and let him carry you across the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is not a new thing. It's one of the worst tropes in Hollywood. But I think I think though that moment, but it happened in the episode we don't like to talk about, but it happened in episode 8, right? They're in the middle of a battle. Rose gets shot down.
Oh God, the rose. I was like, what are you talking about? Oh God, the rose kiss. Yeah. Okay.
That's because that's what she says. She says, "We'll win by save." So I think if I remember correctly, and I've only seen the movie once, she goes to show you how bad it was.
Okay.
She gets shot down. Finn goes to no, 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 no. That's not what happened. She didn't even get shot down. Finn is trying to go out in a blaze of glory and save the rebellion by shooting down the AT-AT walkers or the whatever ATMTs, whatever. Which is exactly what did happen in Rogue One, right? Uh, and instead, Rose crashes into him with her speeder, preventing him from suiciding himself essentially. And then he gets her out of her crashing vehicle, and he's like, "Why?" And she kisses him. She's like, "Because we'll win by saving what we love." So
Okay.
now that I've described it out loud, and if for anyone who hasn't seen the movie or if you're thinking I'm like exaggerating or something, that is the sequence of events. That is what happened. And if you think it's ridiculous, take it up with the director because it's not my fault. But that's like the polar opposite of what happens to characters in Tony Gilroy's Star Wars, right? They have scars, they have trauma, they don't forget about what happened to them. They have families. They sure they do things that are illogical sometimes, but they usually try to save themselves, um, with notable exceptions. And so, anyway, this turned into a sequel trilogy rant, which we try to avoid. But uh, yeah, I'm looking forward to a grounded depiction of PTSD in season 2.
Okay. Um. is there anything that you wanted to bring up before I ask you my final question on this finale?
Yeah, I got a couple of good things for you. So, the some fun facts. So, the marching band in the last episode,
Yeah.
those were the real musicians. They actually performed on set.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Okay.
That's awesome, and it's also like everything about that was so perfect. You have Marva, literally Marva the Brick, literally whacking stormtroopers. You have the Hammer Time dude, the,
With the
like
bell?
kicking,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, like
okay.
Sparta kicking a stormtrooper off the
Off the
tower.
tower. Yeah, yeah.
And then it was just so perfect. Like they're like, oh, like we've got this under control. We told them to push back the time of the procession. We told them only a certain amount of people. And then as soon as the dude starts banging the hammers, it's like, oh, yeah, no, they're not staying within the confines of what the Empire has told them to do. This is not going to go well for the Empire. And it's that kind of thing that it goes all the way back to Leia's quote in episode 4. The more you tighten your grip, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. And that is the essence of rebellion. Long live Nemec. Long live freedom. Anyway,
Okay.
but the music is just like if you listen to that, it's just like an incredible composition. If you listen to it, it's like, wait a minute. This is spooky, this is scary. Someone has died and more people are about to die. It's just perfect. It's great.
Um,
Um,
sorry. One thing I want to say about that scene is, have you ever seen The Godfather Part Two?
no.
Oh, darn. Okay. There's a scene in The Godfather Part Two. That's a flashback scene to like how the Godfather became the Godfather, and
Yeah.
I don't know if this was done on purpose, but this is like really similar. And there's like a procession, a parade going through the town or the city, and the music is like really slow and kind of sad, and it's like the same thing. It's like a procession. They're using the music to build the tension, and basically it's following the Godfather as he's on the rooftop walking next to the procession, and he's on his way to go murder the local crime lord. And so like
Yeah.
I just felt like this was very similar to that, and it evoked the same kind of reaction and emotions for me as that scene. And I don't know if it was done on purpose like that or if it's just me, but I just thought it was really well done. I'm sure Tony Gilroy is a fan of The Godfather. I'm
Yeah.
sure all
Yeah.
directors are.
He's done his homework. And that's like uh, that's what makes something for well like we well, I mean we'll come back to that for another podcast. It's a long topic, but
Yeah.
yes, I'm sure he's seen The Godfather. I'm sure it's intentional. Everything in Andor is intentional. That's what makes it great.
Yeah.
Um, Marva's speech was edited, right? So, and we got confirmation from the actors here. The line where she says "Fight the Empire." That's not what she says originally.
Sorry, that's not what she says. What in the
Yeah,
line
there's that's not what she says originally.
originally?
Uh,
Okay.
uh, she uses a different word beginning with F for the Empire, which so I mentioned before, like, was Disney really paying attention here? They were paying attention. They made sure the F bomb did not get in, at least for that. But they had no problem,
I think she said fight these bastards though. I,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is not as bad
That
as the F bomb, but it's yeah.
that's the last. But the other thing is like 100% Rage Against the Machine, and it it satisfies me enough to know that it was in there, and people who know it's there, and we can all say along when we watch.
I will say about that scene. I watched that scene twice, and I was like trying to put myself in the shoes of just like one of the random people there, and it's like if I was like just happened to show up at this thing and I saw this procession and I saw that speech by that woman and I'm like, "Oh, hey, I know that lady from down the street." And then she made this speech, and with everything that's been going on to their planet and everything, I'd be like, "Heck yeah, let's fight these guys." It
Yeah,
was just
let's
so
go.
well done. Um maybe that could be seen as a negative on like the negatives of mob mentality, you know, but we're meant to root for the rebellion here, obviously. So obviously I'm being a little biased as a audience member.
Well, kind of. But I think that's something else that this does so much better than the original trilogy because the how they say one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist, and it's just a fact. Like the
It's true. It's
Empire,
true. It's a certain perspective. Yeah.
yeah, for the Empire has legal authority. The Empire was created legally. It was voted on. Uh, it was not a coup. The Emperor did not take over by coup. He's doing what he's supposed to do. The laws that they passed are passed by the still existing Senate at the time. So there's a legitimacy to this that you can't argue with from a if you base your morality on what's legal, then the empire is right, right? Um, and uh, and then again, that's why I think it's so powerful. These scenes where they're making dirty bombs, they're crashing up against the riot police, um, you've got Deidre being trampled in a mob, all these different things. But I think the it was such a um. So remember Cyril when he goes to Ferrex, he doesn't go alone, right? He brings back that other captain dude. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know his name.
Yeah.
And I'm there and I'm like, why is this guy here? Like I know he's also after Andor, but like from a storytelling perspective, why would he show up? Like, doesn't he have a job? Doesn't he have other things to do?
Yeah.
Um, and then I realized because there's a scene that's it's pretty quick. It's easy to miss, but after everything has gone down, you see that character like sitting down against the wall, and he's drinking from this flask to himself. And I
Cyril
kind of
or
feel
his buddy?
his buddy,
Okay.
and I feel like he he had an "Are we the baddies" moment. Are we the baddies? We've
Yeah.
got skulls on our armor,
Yeah. Yeah. I
and
missed that. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm reading into it, but it didn't seem like he definitely didn't try to put down the riot either. So I feel like he was someone in the audience who was like, he listened to Marva and he's like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. What am I really doing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe Andor still is a criminal, and he is because he murdered two people in cold blood, and there's no way around that. And that's like the part you didn't get in the original trilogy. You never see Luke really murder anyone, you know? Like the best is that he's either shooting a stormtrooper with armor so you can't see any blood, or he's chopping people off with a lightsaber that
Hold on,
cauterizes
hold
the
on. He
wounds.
did he did shoot the torpedo at the Death Star that murdered like thousands of employees.
So that's the thing. It's so bloodless. It's so like it's so the music, they throw a parade for him, they give him a medal, and it's like, wait a minute, you just killed everyone. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yes.
And and yes, like it's not to say that he shouldn't have taken the shot, but the movie never addresses it. You never see Luke like wrestle with like, should I have done that? He never has that dialogue. Um, Whereas in Andor, you have uh, you have like Cinta shanking people in an alley when she easily could have left. She didn't have to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like yes, the guy had seen her face, but he didn't really have any proof that she was part of the rebellion or anything like that. Um, you have, Andor shooting his teammates in cold blood. You've Andor, the very first introduction to Andor in Rogue One. He's murdering his informant because he can't keep up. You know what I mean? And like that's that's so much more uh, real than you have Luthen's like, oh yeah, Krieger, he has to die. We gotta sacrifice Krieger to keep the rebellion going. That's so much more real than this like fantasy space wizards and super exploding space stations uh, that we get in the movies, the
Yeah,
Skywalker trilogies, I should
I
say.
would I would say that part of that is just like the time a product of the time that the original trilogy was made. They don't really explore like a lot of these. Uh,
But I think they do, right? So like, there's a scene in Return of the Jedi where the Ewoks are fighting, and then like the battle's not going their way. They're getting blown up. The Imperials are chasing after them, and then there's a scene where these two Ewoks they both get hit by an explosion, and then they roll down, and one of them gets up, and he's like pushing the other Ewok like, wake up, no, you can't be dead. It's like, whoa, hold on a second, that's this is really heavy. And but it's never the main characters. Like nothing bad really happens to the main characters. The worst thing that happens is Han Solo conveniently gets frozen in carbonite, which leaves no mark on him. You know?
yeah, yeah, but I mean, yeah, that's like I said, that's just like a product of the time because like you know movies were generally, especially in these like sci-fi or like these fantasy type movies where it's just like a good versus evil, the hero versus the villain. Villains were evil mustache twirling villains, which Palpatine definitely was back then. um, Killing the bad guys was not seen as like something that was immoral, you know, or there would be, or something where you would have any residual guilt over doing it, you know. Um, Whereas I feel like in the probably like the late '90s, 2000s, we started like exploring that a little more, being a little more realistic on things like that. So
Sure, like Anakin, he feels guilty for killing all the Sand
the
People.
Sand People, yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, I was speaking in general in movies, but yes, that is a good example. Episode 2, right? So
And but all their opponents are conveniently droids. So we can witness the Jedi killing as many people because they're not really people, they're droids.
yeah, very convenient, especially in the Mandalorian season 2 finale, right?
Right, exactly. It's like uh yeah. But yeah, it's this thing where if you look for it closely, there's brutality, but it's glossed over. So like the very first thing Boba Fett does in his series is he shoots a rocket at this guy who's like basically no threat to him at that point.
Yeah.
Blows him to smithereens.
Um,
So so what's my point here? I just think it's like that's such all of those things we just mentioned are still so very different than Cinta sliding the knife into this guy while she looks into his eyes.
I will admit that was very, I don't know, serial killery or something. Just very hardcore. Yeah.
Speaking of Cinta, there's a moment where Vel tells her there's nothing in the closet. I was like, oh, oh, har, har.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I had written like they have two scenes in this episode, I think. In the first scene, I'm going like, have I been missing the vibe here this whole time? And then like she said that line, I was like, oh, okay, I haven't. All right, or like I mean, yes, I have been missing it, and now they're like shoving it in my face.
Yeah, no, I didn't catch it at first, and then I was like, why,
And I
what?
was thinking, oh wait, okay, Disney Plus, yes, Star Wars property, Disney Plus. They won't fully go there, but they're like they're like wink wink, nudge nudge.
So right, because otherwise that scene literally served no purpose. Like it didn't go anywhere. It ended
Exactly that, and
abruptly.
that's what I was asking myself. Yeah, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, are they gonna help with the fight or what? Yeah,
And you never see Vel again after she says
yeah,
that.
that was like her last thing. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I hope she comes back. I like her as a character. Uh, yeah.
Oh no, for sure. She's so let's take stock of who's alive. So we've got Cassian, he's joined it with Luthen aboard this lightsaber spinning spaceship. We've got uh Vel, Cinta, Mon Mothma, Saw is alive. Uh we still got that spy in the ISB. Deidre's alive. Cyril's alive. That other captain's alive.
By the way,
Melshi is
those two
alive.
had better stay alive and live happily ever after. Okay.
Oh, you're rooting for them.
I'm rooting for Seirdra. Yep.
Okay. Looking for love in Alderaan places, I see.
um, I I'm hard. I was trying to think of who actually died.
Well, I think Kino's dead. Sorry.
Kino's dead. Obviously, Marva's dead.
Marva's dead. That little the guy who made the dirty bomb, his dad is dead. Uh,
Is
Uyghur's dead.
is the guy that the tall guy that was in the like he's like a pilot slash miner that on Ferrix that was his friend? Is he dead? I remember seeing him in this episode, but I forgot what happens to him here.
Brasso, the guy who swings the brick.
The tall guy, is that his name, Brasso?
Yeah. He's the one who carries the brick in the funeral.
Oh, okay. Did he die?
No, he got on the ship.
He got into okay. He was on the ship at the end. Oh, no, okay, yes, he was. He was. I do remember seeing him there. Yeah, okay.
But the snitch died. The guy who said he knew where Andor was, he died. He got hit. He died to the dirty bomb, ironically.
Snitches get stitches and sometimes worse.
Well, he was on the wrong side of the battle, literally.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to season two. I hear that season two is going to cover like a longer time span, like 4 years rather than I think this is supposed to be like 1 year's worth of time. I don't know if
Yeah,
that'll make a difference.
season two, almost certainly it's going to end with them breaking Jin out of prison.
Yeah, probably. By the way, I told you I rewatched Rogue One. Andor looks so different in that, and I know Rogue One was actually quite a while ago now. It's just natural that the character ages, but I just think they did something weird with the makeup in that movie. He looked like unnaturally different. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean we can retcon this. He was in prison for I guess he wasn't in prison very long, but he was in prison, living different lifestyle. I don't
His
know.
accent was a little different too, but I'm not complaining about that. That happens a lot, and when actors play characters over a long period of time,
Yeah,
accents
I mean
morph.
his English may have even gotten better
That
since
too, yeah,
then.
that too, yeah. All right, Josh, we are almost out of time here. What have you been watching lately?
Well, like I said, I binged Blockbuster. I love it. I don't want it to end, but I know true to its name, it's gonna get canceled. But I'm glad I got to experience it while it was around.
I Because of your recommendation, I will give it another shot. I tried it for a little bit and I just moved on to other things, but because you recommend it, I will give it another shot.
Well, don't you love that one guy, the main actor?
I don't know. I actually don't really love him that much, and in a lot of stuff, I don't even think he's that funny. I think his
So he
Marvel role, he's pretty good in the Marvel role, but other things, I don't care for him.
was he had his own show, right?
Yeah, Fresh Off the Boat. I actually
Yeah, yeah.
didn't care for him in that show that much.
Oh, interesting.
I
Okay.
found the wife to be like the funniest part of the show.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so that's that. What else is going on? I'm on the fence whether to watch Wednesday. I just,
Oh, you
you
made it
know,
sound like you watched it or you were in the process of watching
no,
it. Okay.
I'm just like my wife has it on in the room, so I I have a good handle on what the character's all about.
I'm on the fence on that too. We'll see. There's too much content. Um,
There is too much content.
I am watching. So Josh, I have started watching Yellowstone. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So I don't know if you remember, but we were talking, I think offline about what we were going to talk about in one of our recordings, like way back when, maybe almost a year ago. And then I like was googling the most, or I was on IMDb looking at the most viewed shows on their pages, and like Yellowstone came up for like 7 out of 12 months of that year. And at the time, I hadn't even heard of it, so I'm like, "What is this show?" So it's always been on my list, and I finally got around to watching it these last few weeks, and I have binged the whole show through like 3 times now.
Wow.
It is
Yellowstone.
so crazy. Yeah, it is like it is basically The Godfather, um, mixed in with like I hear it's mixed in with Dallas, but I never saw Dallas, so I'd say it's like Godfather mixed in with like Legends of the Fall. Um, it's just like a Godfather in the West, in the modern West, but it's also a little bit hyper realistic because they just do like so many shady things that you just wonder how they haven't gotten caught. Um, but it's the characters are great, the story is great. They do a lot of showing, not telling, and I'm really bad at like watching showing, not telling, which is why I've had to watch it so many times. Um, I'm like, wait, why are they doing that? And I have to go back and rewatch it, and then, but I would say the single greatest thing I was thinking about how I would sell you this show, and I think the single greatest thing about this show is the character, not only the characters and all that I just said, but the characters make choices, and the choices matter, and they affect them in the long run. Choices they made in season one still reverberates through season 3 and 4, which is I've just only finished season 4. So
Slow clap. Slow clap.
clap, yeah. So and there's also it's just like different because we don't see a lot of shows set in Montana, and it's just like a different set of characters, a different lifestyle. It's
And it's
engaging.
not
It's
set in
great.
New York.
It's not set in New York. There's no superheroes flying around. Um, there's no yeah. It's just and it's like and they also do a really good job of representation of Native Americans, which was refreshing. Um, so yeah, that's my pick. That's my what I've been watching, and I'll probably like watch it again. I don't know. They are also spawning. There's already one spinoff, which is like a prequel 100 years before. There's going to be a sequel to that prequel that's coming out in like 2 weeks, and then they also have another spinoff set in the present day alongside the main show.
Wow, this is really successful.
It's coming out. Yeah, so it's like the Yellowstone CU, the YCU. They're basically launching, and so it's on Paramount Plus. I've watched all of it on Peacock, but this is like really getting me to think about Paramount Plus.
Wow.
But my sister has always already been thinking about Paramount Plus, so maybe I'll try to just piggyback off of her subscription. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, you gotta do the thing where you make her think it's her idea.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch all of those spin-offs. It's such a great show. I highly recommend it. But that is all the time we have for today. Josh and I will be back sometime in the near future, probably to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy or other Star Wars MCU DC properties. But everybody, thank you for listening, and good night.
Bye.